First Tuesday.
It was quite clear that no one was to be spared in that village.
We go back to Viet Nam and to the massacre at My Lai.
Deep down, we felt what we were doing was right. But after it was over, everyone knew it was wrong.
Good evening. Over the years on First Tuesday, we've done a number of films about men at war, about the universal soldier who fulfills bravely the requirements of his political masters. But tonight we're forced to look critically at the soldier himself and at the training which turns civilians into the killers that war requires. The My Lai massacre in 1968, in which US troops killed nearly 500 Vietnamese civilians, was one of the incidents which swung American opinion decisively against involvement in Vietnam. It was truly horrific, but the fact is, it wasn't untypical of other incidents in the war, just bigger. Tonight, 20 years on, the My Lai killers tell us their story, of brutality even more barbarous than has ever been admitted officially, of the training which made them think the way they did, and of the Vietnamese faces which will haunt them to their graves. In Vietnam, those few who survived the massacre talk of their lost families and their everlasting loneliness. All the legacy of 4 hours in My Lai.
Can you tell me, Bernardo, what this book is? It's why you've kept it?
This is my life. This is my past, this is my present, this is my future. And I keep it, to remind me. But it's always there. This is it. This is my life. This is everything. This is the way I am. This is what made me this way.
My Lai today, a small hamlet close to the coast of central Vietnam. On their maps, the Americans called the area Pinkville, and that is how the massacre was known at first, the Pinkville Massacre. Today, the villagers are farmers and fishermen, just as they were 20 years ago. But then, My Lai was at the center of a bitterly contested region in a cruel war. Early one morning in March 1968, Charlie Company of the 1st 20th American Infantry Battalion landed here by helicopter and attacked the village. By the time they left, 4 hours later, the young GIs of Charlie Company had killed hundreds of old men, women, and children in cold blood. The village of My Lai had ceased to exist.
Let's go.
In Fort Benning, Georgia, new infantry recruits to the American Army receive their first rounds of ammunition and take their first steps as soldiers. In 1967, at the height of the war, thousands of young men were sent here for basic training. Most were bound for Vietnam, including many of those who would eventually make up Charlie Company.
The transition from civilian to soldier is a very distinct and very rigorous training. Soldiers are taught all the things that they need to know about being a good soldier in those very early days and weeks in basic training.
Let's go, step it out, step it out. Keep your heads up. You all look like you're tired. Are you tired? No, yes.
They are taught how to use weapons to kill. They are taught how to drill, how to march with weapons.
Get that weapon
and
up.
all of these drills and different maneuvers are carried out by orders.
Move out!
They are taught hand-to-hand fighting. They are taught close order fighting. They are taught how to deal with the enemy when they come face-to-face with him. They are trained to be killers. They are trained from their early weeks in basic training. They are taught how to use a bayonet.
Kill! Move! Kill! Butt stroke to the growing series. Move! Kill!
They are taught the spirit of the bayonet. The spirit of the bayonet is to kill. You wanted soldiers highly motivated. His way of motivating them was to have a response, a command and response from the soldiers. And he would say, what is the spirit of the bayonet? And to kill, Sergeant, to kill. What is the spirit of the bayonet? To kill. So soldiers were motivated along these lines.
What is the spirit of the bayonet? Kill! It's cold blues down!
And that would be their response. And he would drill them into a state of readiness. And he would just inspire them through his speaking and through his talking and through his teaching of what the spirit was. As one of the sergeants who trained the men of Charlie Company, I was very pleased with the way they turned out. They turned out to be very good soldiers.
The men of Charlie Company arrived in Vietnam from Hawaii in December 1967. They'd had no combat experience, but had performed well in training and were considered the best company in their battalion. Their average age was 20. They'd been drawn together from all over America. An Army report would later describe them as a typical cross-section of American youth assigned to most combat units.
The majority of the men in C Company were just your average normal Americans. Most of us were all middle income, middle class families. They were from all across the United States, Indiana. I was from Pennsylvania. So I'd say you had a good cross-section of the total population of the United States at that point in time. A lot of times when we were first in country, we would go to the villages up and down the highway, Highway 1. You'd play with the kids in between pulling guard duty. And one bridge in particular, there was a boy that always hung around up there with the GIs. We nicknamed him Six Fingers because he had an extra thumb. He had 6 fingers. But you'd always take him stuff, candy, pop. Take pictures with them, you know, GIs with the kids. You got to meet a lot of people.